Okay, it's counting. In theory, we are live, yelling and screaming. NFL Week 2. I think this is episode 4 for us, Sean.
Um, it might be episode 4. Yeah, we did 2 preseason in week 1,
Yes.
so this would be episode 4. Yeah.
So, concept is we're gonna not spend the time doing a full recap of Week 1. We're gonna go Week 2 game by game. You see them on your screen there. And we will use what happened in week 1 and in some cases what happened just before week 2 to inform the way we talk about our week 2 preview.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, Thursday night football, Bills Dolphins. I don't think anything really happened with the Dolphins last week. Sean, you want to just skip this one?
Oh, absolutely. Well, something did happen with the Dolphins last week. You're not going to bring up how my man Tyreek Hill got detained, and then came out and still balled out. The celebration with the handcuffs behind the back, iconic. That is going to be iconic. That's going to be something that we talk about probably for at least a couple more weeks until they figure out what's going on with the case down there.
My only question is why is Jalen Waddle detaining him against his will?
I mean, nobody was detaining him during the game. They couldn't stop him. Seven receptions for 130 yards, if I'm not mistaken, and a touchdown.
Ripped it up with that long touchdown, 80-yarder.
I mean, we all know he still got the cheetah speed. I guess that's why they pulled him over. Like, hey, is that your car engine? Or is that your feet at the bottom? Are you Fred Flintstone? What's going on here?
Oh no, not the Fred Flintstone.
But
Dolphins didn't look great altogether for large portions of that game. Couldn't really get the run game going. I'm kind of concerned against the Bills Thursday night.
Bills, Josh Allen looked a lot better than I thought he was going to be. With the completely new receiver core, he looks like he just he looks like he's just throwing the ball to those guys. And obviously, he's still always he's always one of those guys who will take off and run on his own. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, which is something that you typically get from him. You get those rushing touchdowns from him. So, I mean, he looked pretty comfortable in the offense. Obviously, Miami, people don't talk about it, but Miami's one of those places where the field actually matters a lot. And thankfully, Thursday night football, there's no sun, but that opposing side of the field actually can play a factor depending on what time of day it is for your game. So we'll see how that game goes. But I mean, both of these teams, pretty high-powered offense. Tua, he had some good long passes, threw for 330 plus. Top passing quarterback of the week. So we'll see how he does against that Bills defense.
I only had one takeaway from the Bills game. Josh Allen had a lot of Aaron Rodgers moments. He had a lot of moments where he was whining for a flag, looking to the refs and like gesturing. It's like, man, just play football.
I think we're going to keep seeing that from Josh Allen. I think as his career goes on, he's going to keep complaining about any hits that he takes. Pretty much, he's just going to keep complaining about it. He is a big dude, but so was Ben Roethlisberger. And you know who didn't complain about hits a lot? Got hit a lot? Tom Brady. I don't even like Tom Brady. He got hit a lot. Didn't do too much. Didn't do nearly as much complaining as Josh Allen did last night. This week. So
that is
all
fair. Right. Getting into Sunday slate, Raiders Ravens. I know you're going to have a couple thoughts on this one.
The Ravens game against the Chiefs was it showed me that the Ravens had the potential to be a good team and made some decisions that I didn't agree with. They looked good when they had Derrick Henry in, and then they just basically benched him for Justice Hill. And I was like, why? Why is Derrick Henry not running on some of these first and second down plays? Like, why did he suddenly feel like a third down back in this game? My Raiders look terrible. They just don't look good. And I feel like the Ravens are going to eat up their defense and put themselves back into that conversation as one of those better teams in the AFC, best teams in the AFC. So we'll see how this game goes on. But I mean, I just don't understand why they didn't feed him the ball.
Yeah, Lamar had a better game than I think we're used to seeing out of him. Week 1, he usually comes out kind of flat, but a huge game here. Played really well. Made, for the most part, good decisions. It will be interesting to see where this running game goes. The whole point of getting King Henry was to run the ball with King Henry.
That's what I thought.
I'm not really sure there, but I have a hard time not laying the points to the Ravens here. I still think they're just more mature on defense. But I liked how the Raiders looked. I thought that they at least showed up. And I'm okay.
Look,
I'm okay with how Minshew managed the offense.
I am not giving them as much. I'm not giving them as much because it's a divisional game, and it was a divisional game against a team that's got a brand new head coach. They have a new receiver core. Like they got a guy who just came off an injury too, and Justin Herbert. So like, should they have lost by 2 scores? No, they shouldn't have lost by 2 scores. If the game is a 1-score game, maybe I make more of an argument for you, but I mean, for Minshew to just have to manage the game, I need us to win games. I need to see, and the defense for me has been an Achilles heel for years. The defensive line is solid, but the secondary is god awful, and the linebacker core is weak at best. So, I mean, I'd like to see. Pearson was supposed to be a guy who was more defensively minded. We'll see how that works out for the rest of the season.
They did give up like 135 rushing yards to a guy that has no business touching the football in the NFL. So King Henry over 100, maybe.
I see him going over 100 with them trying to stack the box and the Ravens offensive line just controlling it. I mean, you can only Max Crosby's a great, very good guy, but when you got someone as dynamic as Lamar Jackson in the backfield and you've got to keep a spy on him, and your secondary is already weak, then it just opens up holes in so many other places. Then you've got your D line like crashing in, trying to get to him as quickly as possible, and bam, you got little swing routes. You got you got everything starting to open up there. So I'm not confident about the Raiders winning this game. But to the black hole, I hope we get it done.
Chargers and Panthers. Man, the Panthers are
so bad. So bad. Like
it doesn't make sense to be bad at so many different positions. It's like they went through a whole draft. Now they gave up picks to get who might be the worst quarterback in the league. So I get that they were a little depleted in the draft.
I don't know.
I mean, you still had 6 picks. Like
there's a guy who I might have to argue against that. There's only one other guy, but we haven't gotten to his game yet. The Panthers are really, really bad. The Chargers are going to start the season 2-0. They're going to have great momentum. They're going to feel like that they have their guys, and they don't really seem like I don't see them having a challenge in week 2. So the Panthers are just they're just bad. They're just bad.
Really bad.
Just really bad. Yeah, I don't want to waste any more time.
And they sucked last year.
Yeah, they are the perennial trash team now in the NFL. It's what I see.
Somebody's got to bear down.
Oh, good Lord.
Saints Cowboys. Saints came out fire and scored a bucket load of points. It was the Panthers. It was the Panthers. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what they look like against a real defense. And the Cowboys brought it.
Their defense looked really, really stout. They had some great secondary play. And at the end of the day, you pay Dak, you pay CD, they're going to come out and play. Zeke's played in that offense before. He's played with Dak, so he felt comfortable. You could see him, pounding the rock. And their offensive line has been one of the better ones in the NFL, I'd say, in the past 5-10 years. Dak really has not been a guy who threw a ton of interceptions. And so I always look at the protection around him, and I look at the decision making. And as much as I can't stand the fucking Cowboys, one right now, they're definitely going to be one of those teams to watch in the NFC all season with the talent that they have on offense and defense. I hope the Saints come out, and I hope they play the strongest game that they can early in the season. I hope they have a whole bunch of momentum coming off that Panthers win, and I hope that they beat the crap out of Cowboys. But I do not see that happening. I see this being Cowboys minus 7.5.
Yeah, it's sitting 6.5 right now.
Yeah.
The one thing is that the Saints really leaned on their tight ends. The Cowboys are relatively poor defensively against tight ends. You're still down your number 1 corner.
Mm-hmm.
If the Saints can throw the ball the way they did against the Panthers, I could see them scoring 28 points. The problem is that Dak and CD are not the Panthers. And I think, honestly, I would rather have Zeke than the trio of guys they have in the backfield in Carolina.
That D line is going to be the defensive line is going to be smothering the Saints offensive line too. They're going to be put a lot of pressure. And I love Derek Carr. I loved him when he played for the Raiders. It wasn't a move that I was hoping that would happen to us, but it is what it is. And I wish him all the success. But again, the Cowboys defensive line is going to put way more pressure on him than the Panthers did. So we'll see how that game goes. But I don't expect him to be nearly as comfortable back there as he was in the previous week.
We're going to learn a lot about the Saints really quickly.
Yeah, going from a really, really bad team to a very, very good team is going to be a total 180. We'll see how quickly they can make that adjustment. And playing in Dallas.
Yeah,
and playing in
Dallas.
The
ball to Taysom Hill. I don't want to see any Taysom Hill.
They're going to lean on Taysom Hill.
I hate Taysom Hill.
He's like the least versatile player that's expected to be versatile, in my opinion. Like Taysom Hill is what if Tim Tebow wasn't Tim Tebow, he would be Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill plays Tim Tebow in a Lifetime movie.
All right, you got me. You got me on that one. When I was a Saints fan, I didn't even like Taysom Hill.
It's the weirdest combination of guys. I don't know what they thought they were going to get out of him. They looked at all these other guys in the league and they're like, these guys are super dynamic. We can get him to do so many things. And they saw him and they're like, he's got an okay arm. He's bigger. Maybe he can run the ball. Let's have him be a combo guy. Like, what was the
Sean Payton's weird, though. Sean Payton's a weird dude. He does weird things. Like, I'm all in on Bo Nix this year, but Bo Nix is essentially just Taysom Hill with a slightly better arm. Like, these guys are all the same guy.
We haven't even gotten to their game yet, but to literally lose to the backup quarterback, we didn't even get to that yet.
All right. Bucks Lions. I'm really excited for this one. Baker May looked great. Not the toughest matchup, but I mean, he did what you have to do in those games.
I think he's going to have a very good season in a weak division. I think that he's going to be. I think he's going to have. Last season was the testament to actually what you can get out of him as far as productivity goes. I think this year he continues with that. I just think that it's going to be a very solid season for them. Mike Evans is one of the more reliable wide receivers in the league. He's going to give you 1,000 yards receiving every year. You're not going to have to. He's very, very good with his hands. Good big body, and he feels very comfortable with them out there. So I mean. Good for Baker Mayfield. Shout out Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner.
Well, and they're deep too. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. I think this opens 6.5, sitting at 7 right now. I don't know if I can lay 7 points with the Lions, who are also very, very good. But I mean, this Bucks team isn't a pushover, and the Lions had trouble with the Rams at times.
I agree. I think the Lions have a really stout team. They have a lot of good guys. They're a pretty deep team. But you got to put it together, and you can't give up the points. You can't give up the points. You can't give up some of the easy plays. You can't give up plays when you have the chance to stop teams on 3 and out and or stop teams from extending drives. You can't let them do that. And I think that's where the Lions haven't. I think that's where they haven't gotten to just yet. They're still giving up a few more plays that would kind of keep those games where they're much more when they are managing the game much better, keeping those other teams off the board. They just haven't gotten there yet.
I'm going to bet it right now. Lions first drive punt plus money. Lock it in.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
All right. Maybe the biggest one of the week, the biggest story out of week 1 is the Jordan Love injury.
Mm-hmm.
Willis will be the guy, at least for week 2. I was kind of surprised he didn't go grab somebody else, but what do you got on
Kaepernick's on the board. He's available.
Oh, stop. We already talked about Taysom Hill. We will not talk about Tannehill or Tannehill. Kaepernick.
Hey, he's never stopped working out. All right, he never stopped. Oh, I'm kidding. No, the Jordan Love injury. I will say this: the game against the Eagles, the first quarter of that game was by far the sloppiest game I've seen from two teams that were supposed to be relatively polished. Even though the Packers are a young team, it was very sloppy. There was whole concerns about the grass being too soft and because it was a soccer field and yada yada yada. And you could tell after the first quarter, both teams really made some changes and got the ball going down the field. But then to have this guy who's supposed to be your team leader, before the injury, I will say that there were a couple of drives where the Packers, if they could extend the drive, keep the ball away from the Eagles' hands, Eagles don't win that game. And he ended up getting, the drives got cut short because of some balls that he was late on. He was throwing off his back foot a lot. And there's guys who are very, very successful with throwing off their back foot, but they also have better arms than him. Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys that you can watch his tape. He throws off his back foot, but his natural arm, he could throw without using any legs. And he still get the ball accurately to where he wants to go. Behind the back passes. That is not you, Jordan Love. All right. You need to step into that pocket and get the ball to the front of those receivers so that they can move with the ball instead of reaching behind themselves, stopping the momentum, and then the play is dead. So I think that's what I saw out of Jordan Love that really tells me that he's still got got to develop a little bit into becoming he was behind Rodgers and he's got to develop some more in order to really, really fill those shoes. But it doesn't matter because he's not playing this week. And I think that the Colts offense looked potent enough. Jonathan Taylor didn't really even rush very much. But, I mean, they had some great passes coming out of Richardson. And I think that they're going to have a fun game against Green Bay without Green Bay's starter. I think they're going to be on the field a lot. I think it's going to give Jonathan Taylor a lot of time to rush the ball. So I see this game being a Colts win. I see the Colts, scoring somewhere in the low 30s in this game potentially.
Yeah, I think you can't take the Packers again until Love is back. No. It might not be that cut and dry. Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams, Cardinals. I mean, that's not ideal of a stretch to not have your starting quarterback. I really liked what I saw out of the Colts. I don't really have a whole lot of concerns as far as their offense, and the defense looked much improved. Guys flying all over the field, making tackles where they needed to. Obviously you'd like to win
the game.
Yeah.
But they were playing against a team that had a very phenomenal season last year, stout defense, stout offense, and got better. So It wasn't like they were playing against poor competition and didn't. And they played against very good competition and they held their own, which I like to see.
Yeah. Everything seemed to be working. I got the Colts here. I don't think it's going to be close.
I got the Colts here as well.
All right, another one here. Browns and Jaguars. I'm going to let you cook, but I'm just going to say Jags might shut out the Browns in this game. I would not be shocked.
Well, the fact that Deshaun Watson has another lawsuit, just come on, man. They should have. No, the lawsuit exists. The allegations are in the lawsuit, but at the end, they need to cut ties with this guy. He is a cancer. He's toxic to the energy of what you want to be in a football team. There is no benefit to sticking beside him. What's the benefit there? 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. At what point do you say, you know what, maybe this guy isn't the person that we want to be the face of our franchise? Which, by the way, the franchise doesn't even have a face. It's just a color. So if you really want to do it,
Brownie the elf.
Brownie the elf is definitely not the face of the current Browns. All right, you want to talk about 1959 Browns? Then yeah, maybe that's the case. But if you want this guy really is not a representative. This guy, you ask a lot of people what the Browns where the Browns mascot is, and I guarantee you they don't know that it's an elf. But I will say, just just in all honesty, if you were looking to be face of your franchise and you're a team and you're looking at a guy like Trevor Lawrence on the other side, who for all intents and purposes is just a pretty boy who comes out and plays football, and your opposite side is this guy who can't keep his hands to himself and keeps having cases throwing up at him. I've seen guys in the NFL get not have contracts for much longer than him, for much less than what his allegations are and what's going on with him. So I think the Jags also have a great defense, and without Njoku, it's like who's playing right now on the Browns?
Yeah,
really.
The big thing for me with the Watson stuff, I don't like Deshaun Watson. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that. But like ultimately what it comes down to for me, I don't care about the off the field stuff. He sucks as a quarterback. He's awful. He's an awful leader. He's an awful player. And the Browns are built to win right now. And you've got a guy sitting behind him in Winston who can do all those things. Hasn't had a 50 interception season since he got LASIK. That's a fact.
True.
I think the way your team is built, like, why not
give Jameis Winston the reins and let him try?
Just move. I get the guaranteed money, and I get that it's a sunk cost, but like that's the whole thing with a sunk cost. It can't get any worse.
True.
So
it can only get worse if you waste the time. I mean, Flacco comes in, does a phenomenal job last year. Why are you like still wasting energy on this guy and Deshaun Watson, who has done nothing for your team?
And why go pay a guy like Winston unless you were planning to have to use him?
Well, they weren't. I'm sure they didn't know. I'm sure they didn't know that he was going to be able to play this year. Just in case, let me get a guy kind of similar prototype.
Similar build, that's for sure. Give me the Jags.
Yeah, Jags in this game.
Niners, Vikings. I'll let you start. You got stronger notes in here than I do. I just said Niners can't lose.
All I'm saying is, I think that that CMC being out and their backup running back still going for 140 is a testament to how good the scheme is. Granted, they obviously didn't play the best. They didn't play against a defense that I thought was supposed to be better than that. Their defense got worked hard. But to be fair, when you're on the field a lot because the offense isn't producing, then you get tired. And they just seemed like they were not fully prepared. San Francisco came out strong as hell. They had rushing touchdowns by running backs. They had rushing touchdowns by wide receivers. And it's like, okay, cool. These are the same guys we saw in the Super Bowl. Like they just looked like that perennial powerhouse team in the NFC. They look like they are going to just continue to be the team to beat in the NFC. And so I see them being that top contender again this year.
I just want to give Bobby Turner his due. You talked about the scheme. This is the Shanahan offense. Bobby Turner is running backs in the Shanahan offense. Growing up, loved John Elway, so I was a big Broncos guy.
Mm-hmm.
Terrell Davis couldn't run his way out of a paper bag in college. Turns into one of the greatest running backs of a decade. Wins 2 rings with the Broncos. Robert Turner's been doing it since then. I don't have this committed to memory. I just looked this up. 3 of the top 9 rookie rushing seasons in the NFL history came under Bobby Turner in this offense. Alf Morris, Clinton Portis, Mike Anderson.
Interesting.
CMC is phenomenal. If they block and run as hard as they did on Sunday, the 49ers will not lose a game because of their offense. That's all, man. Awesome to see. Awesome to see.
I get that? Good football. Good football. I love it. I love when I see players being utilized in more dynamically than just, I love to see receivers. I love to see sweeps. I love to see blocking releases. I love to see chip blocks and then, a guy coming off the line. I want to see guys doing all the things that they need to do in order to be as useful for their team as possible. I love seeing a fullback come out of the backfield and being a receiver. I love seeing your wide receiver lined up on the outside and your running back on the outside and your wide receiver comes around and runs the ball. Like what? Those scheme plays, it warms my heart to see how dynamic football can be than just a traditional run downhill, throw the ball downfield.
I needed the refresher, man. We were watching at the bar and just watching Ayuk throw downfield blocks. It's like, yeah, man, like
Yeah.
hell yeah, like why not? Why not just hold the block for more than 3 seconds? Like I love seeing them like do the job. Like so many of them, they'll walk toward the guy and you can tell
And
they're
just
not
kind
getting
of,
the ball.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, get it.
these
No,
Niners
good
guys are
blocker.
downfield just throwing blocks, man. I'm excited for Ricky to get back too because I feel like he kind of fits that vibe.
I think they got a chip on their shoulder from last year. I think they were, they want to win. They said this is their year. This is their year.
They're doing the stupid Monday Night Football animated bits, and they got a cable car that gets stuck on the hill right before the Super Bowl. Like that's low, guys, but that's all right.
It is what it is. They've been there before. Time to pull it out.
Seahawks Patriots is an interesting one. Man, the defense came to play. The defense came to play for the Pats, and they ground out an ugly game, but they got to win.
They did. The team that I did not expect to get the win this week was the Patriots. But you got to remember, Jacoby Brissett played in that offense before, or played in the Patriots offense. Sorry, he knows the organization. So him coming in and being named the starter was like, okay, this guy's done this before. So I mean, he feels comfortable there, game managed, and the defense they've had some good defensive games historically, not in the last couple years, but under the Belichick era, one of their underrated things was their defense. I know they've had some guys that have become Hall of Famers on the defense, and guys that are now coaches in the NFL that came from their defense. So they've had instances where defense has been a priority for them, has been very, very successful, and this week was one of those times where they showed it. I don't see that happening again. But a home game against a solid Seattle team, I can't say that they were outstanding, but they had some really good plays. Kenneth Walker looked great running the ball at some points. DK dropped one that I thought he really should have. But Geno looks real comfortable in that offense, and he looked comfortable in that offense last year. So, I mean, they got their guy in Geno. They're really happy. I think they're really happy with him back there. And I think there's going to be another solid season for them this year. So I take Seattle over Indy in this game personally.
Total sitting at 38. I think that's the only betting interest I have here. Seahawks did enough against the Broncos. That game was hard to watch. It was pretty ugly. But I mean, I'm not all the way there on the Patriots yet. I like Mayo's going to have them ready, right? I mean, I just don't know that they can win this game, but it is in New England.
Home games. You always gotta give a point or two to the home team. So you never know.
I'm really only interested in the total. I'm gonna try to stay away from it, but yeah, gun to my head, it's the Hawks. I don't think it's gonna be close. I think I'm nervous for no reason.
Fair enough.
Jets Titans.
Oh my goodness! How bad is Will Levis? How bad is Will Levis?
I'll tell you what, though, he might not have been the worst team in that game on Sunday. I mean, there was a quarterback on the field that might have been worse than Levis. I know we're getting to that one.
But my favorite quote of the week is if we had punted on every 1st and 10, we might have won the game.
It's just a wild way to think about it.
It's the wildest thing that you could possibly say as a coach of the team is if we had punted every 1st and 10, we would have won the game. That is not instilling any confidence in your offensive leader and your offense in general. You might as well have just told him he sucked to his face. Like, what's the point of that?
On the other side, the Jets drove straight down the field, looked phenomenal, scored an easy touchdown. And then I remembered it was in bonus time with the backup quarterback against all backups on defense. And the Jets looked like ass the entire game.
Yep. They do not look good. Aaron Rodgers looks washed to me right now. I don't want to hear any of that. He's got to work his way back in. Not my fault that they chose to sit him out the entire preseason. So this is his first game back. Period. I mean, if anything, it should have been a warm up game for him. Granted, it was against a very, very good defensive and offensive team. So to say that his first game back against a perennial powerhouse is really, really testament to his actual preparedness isn't going to be fair. If he does not come out and look like a Pro Bowl quarterback against a awful Tennessee team, I don't know. I was already not sold on him, but it's going to be a rough year for the Jets if he doesn't come out and perform well this week.
I'm just kind of over the whole shtick. Like, he gets upset with his wide receivers, and like I'm willing to admit that he has to know the playbook and the routes better than the idiots that they have on offense. Like Allen Lazard, it's not fair to get mad at Allen Lazard for not running the right routes. The guy's a moron. He should have been left the guy on the vine.
I honestly can't give you that one because he played with him already. He already played with him. He played with him in Green Bay.
What? But
that's exactly your goddamn routes.
but that's why he shouldn't be upset when Lazard runs the wrong route. It's all he's ever done his whole career. Like Rodgers handpicked this guy. He's like, hey, we need a new wide receiver 3. I could have literally anyone in the NFL because I'm Aaron Rodgers. I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. The Jets just
and he picked Allen Lazard.
Dumb shit. He's like Allen Lazard, and then the second play of the game, he's like doing. Like, get over yourself, Aaron. Like, you picked these guys. Like, if they're still bad, it's your fault at practice at this point. Like,
my guy Garrett Wilson's so start running the wrong route is just comical to me because they already played together. So it's like. Yeah. Like, how bad could he have possibly been for you to be like, I want that guy to come play with me again, and then go, God damn it. Well, the next game doesn't seem like it's going to be much more of anything anyway. Giants.
Commanders.
I will say this. Giants are awful, but I like Jaden Daniels. Obviously, his first real game. This will be a divisional game, and typically divisional games are usually a little tight because the organizations know each other so well. But I think that in this instance, even though Washington gave up their number 2 receiver in Dotson, I think that they still might be able to pull it out against the Giants, just because the Giants is awful.
I think the only thing worse than the Giants in Week 1 were the Giants throwback uniforms. Those were pretty hard to look at. I did like the helmets, but the whole thing together just didn't really work for me. I have to eat some crow on this. I almost bet the Giants, took the Giants for Survivor. My numbers were showing a narrow win Giants, not the shit show that came out. And thankfully, I was talked off a ledge by some people who are Giants fans and told me how bad of an idea that all was. But
yeah,
at least on paper, they should be better than they are.
Well, part of the reason for that is when you do a QB comparison, like I've seen some comparisons between like Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. And they're as far as if you just go by raw numbers, their statistics are pretty even. The difference is that I think Trevor Lawrence makes better decisions, and his points are not his stats are not garbage time points. I think that stat comparison didn't include like garbage time. I think the Jags are typically in games to where they're typically in games for 3.5 for 4 quarters, right? The Giants are not. They're not. It's just a completely different environment for them in some of these games. So I just didn't see it.
I'm just picturing the Venn diagram of football skill between those two, and it's completely independent skills. And then right where it crosses, it says white quarterback. They could not be more different. And yeah, I've seen people compare their statistical profiles, and it's like, Do you watch football? Because
Yeah,
not
they're
the same.
definitely not the same guy. Yeah, I think Daniel Jones has like one playoff. He's got that one playoff. That one season when they made the playoffs as like
Yeah,
a
and they got like blown out in the wild card or something, right?
yeah, they were not good. No. They won the first week, the first game like, that they played that playoff season. If I'm not mistaken, I thought they won the first game and lost the second one really badly.
Don't care for that.
Yeah, but anyway,
yeah.
I take Commanders -3 personally.
Commanders -3.
It's a home game against a terrible Giants team, and Jaden Daniels has one. He's got one game under his belt. He made some good decisions. He tucked the ball away when he needed to. He did not get sacked as many times as you would expect from a young quarterback who typically those guys they don't make as many good decisions. He put the ball down. He got to where he needed to. He got out of bounds and didn't take as many big hits as you see some of those young running quarterbacks do. I think that he's going to be in a better situation in this game against a very bad Giants defense.
I'm with you. I think I'd have to. I don't know what the line is. Line's 1.5. I could lay 2.5. I don't know if I want to be sitting on a field goal with these two teams.
Okay, 2.5 is fair enough. I can see that.
Rams Cardinals division game. I'm actually excited for this one. The Rams.
I think this will be
fun.
Puka Nacua out though, so they're. I mean, obviously they got Cooper Kupp back. They just swapped guys. That's all I did.
Yeah, 2 years ago didn't need Puka. This year don't need Puka. The problem is if Kupp gets hurt, there's now no one left to run routes on this team. I mean, Kupp had 19 targets. Who are they going to throw the ball to?
I mean, but that's what they did 2 years ago. That was his super season. It's that's what he's used to. That's what Stafford's used to doing. Puka Nacua was a fill-in last year, and he did a great job as a fill-in. But he wants to throw that ball to Cooper Kupp 15 to 20 times a game.
And they will. I mean, they've shown
us.
They
100% will.
They will.
And they'll do it successfly. Against the Cardinals
look great.
Cardinals look really good. Connor made some great plays. I thought Kyler made some strong passes in instances where he would normally have tucked the ball away. He was still looking downfield to kind of get the ball out and get the best play off. And I really, really like that. So I've seen a little bit of QB development out of him, which I've been hoping for in the last couple of years. As someone who lives in Arizona and is forced to watch Cardinals and listen to Cardinals fans, it was good to see out of him in this past week.
They got to get these wins in. Call of Duty is coming.
Call of Duty is coming. This game is probably one of the closest games I see of the week.
Yeah, I'm not really sure which way to go on it. The Rams looked good. The Rams looked really good, I thought, against the Lions, but like stagnated at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I have like a strong lean. The line is 1.5 Cardinals actually here in Phoenix.
That's fair. It is a short commute, so let's look at that. It's not going to be. It's an air conditioned stadium. It's a short commute. It's not too so it's not shouldn't be a rough week for them. If you take, are you going to take the line or the Cardinals? Because if you take the Cardinals, I'll take the Rams.
We'll split it up. Yeah, I'm in for that.
All right, let's do that.
Right.
Now the fun
Steelers Broncos.
What a beautiful, beautiful travesty to happen at the quarterback position in Pittsburgh.
No team has any business winning on 6 field goals. It's unacceptable. It makes.
But is that not on par with Mike Tomlin? He is not. Yeah. They just win. They just grind it out.
To be above 500 without scoring a single offensive touchdown all year.
He could very well do that. Although I'm definitely going to say that Justin Fields is going to have a couple of rushing touchdowns this year.
Well, he better because the running backs suck.
He is the running back. What are you talking about? He's the running back.
Steelers team,
he is the running back.
Man, I mean, he might win the Steelers a couple games, but if he plays like that for 4 weeks, I don't know how Russell Wilson doesn't get the job back.
Okay, but here's my question for you. Who do you have having a better offensive 4 weeks? Caleb Williams at quarterback or Justin Fields at quarterback for their respective teams? Because Caleb Williams did not look that great. I mean, we're going to come up and talk about him in the Bears coming up, but
can we include Malik Willis? Because that would be my answer if I can. I think Malik Willis is better than Fields and Caleb Williams. And I don't think Malik Willis is good.
Good. Fair enough. All right. Well, if anything, I give Fields the nod because he's got NFL experience, significantly more at a starting position than the other two. And he had a pretty good rushing season, given that his team was awful. So I mean, I would give him that nod just there. Pittsburgh defense has got to keep playing well, which they've been known to do in past years. Against the Broncos, with Bo Nix, still young, not making the best decisions back there as a quarterback, has some talent on offense, still doesn't really know how to work with them yet. I take Pittsburgh in this game. I can't vote it. Yeah. I can't give it to the Broncos. I just don't see them being polished enough against a Mike Tomlin defense.
I've got Pittsburgh too, obviously on the books as a Bo Nix believer, but I think more important to me than this game is the outcome of this game and the outcome of the Falcons-Eagles game. I want to know if what we saw in Atlanta is real for the Steelers or the Falcons, because it's concerning either way if it is.
How long before my guy before Michael Penix comes in?
Man, I'm watching the game. That's the only thing I could think about. I'm like, dude, Penix.
If he was in there right now,
I don't think there's any chance he gets in before the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that is a far cry from not playing at all. So I think there's a chance.
What's the chances that her Kirk Cousins getting injured? I mean, that's still also a possibility. It happens. It happens pretty regularly.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I want to see the Steelers defense against what should be a worse offense in the Broncos. The Broncos should be worse than the Falcons. I don't think it's crazy to say that.
Oh, no, I agree.
And I mean, they held the Falcons to nothing. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I take Steelers in that game. This game coming up here is probably one that I thought preseason was going to be a much better game than after week one.
Bengals Chiefs. The Bengals are bad, I think.
They're not good. I think he needs to grow his hair back. I don't know what he did to try to be better, but he didn't do a good job of it.
So I was doing quarterback research, and the Bengals got like completely blasted week one last year. They lost to the Browns. That's the game, like normal ESPN scoring. That's the one that, oh man, his name just left my mind. The quarterback had negative points. Burrow had negative points in that game. Like really poor performance across the board from the Bengals in that game. So maybe it's a week one thing. I mean, their wide receivers are all over the place. These guys don't want to play for more money, are sick, are injured. I mean, they didn't look good.
There's a lot of chaos in there in that receiver room. It doesn't feel like the team is cohesive. They just don't seem to be meshing right now. And that's not going to be any good for productive offense. The defense wasn't very good either. The defense wasn't very good either. And so you can't have a bad offense and a bad defense and expect to win very many games, if any.
Especially in that division.
It's a stacked division.
Like if you roll the town against a Steelers team that can win with 6 field goals, I mean, that's not going to go well for anybody.
I mean, after week one, you still feeling the same about my bet about Steelers being 4th in the division?
It's impossible to tell. I mean, they have a win.
They do. They do have a
They're,
win.
they're the only team in the Super Bowl era to be the only undefeated team in their division and the only one to not score an offensive touchdown.
I gotta love football stats. To the
It's
Rams.
like so specific, but it essentially boils down to like, what the hell was week 1? Like,
What the hell was it?
Worthy.
I will say this:
is a beast. Worthy's fast as hell.
he's Tyreek Hill, but much nicer. Tyreek, but much nicer. He's just a significantly. Tyreek Hill is not a humble guy at all, and you could see that when he played there.
Worthy leaves the window rolled down when he's told to.
Hey. I will say this: Worthy looked phenomenal in that offensive scheme, and Patrick Mahomes, without Tyreek Hill, without a 1,500, 2,000 yard wide receiver, still led the NFL in passing in 2 seasons, won 2 Super Bowls. So, getting a guy as dynamic as him, playing with Rashid Rice, and then Pacheco pounding away at it, Travis Kelce blocking and releasing, and then Juju Smith-Schuster, who wasn't a bad wide receiver, who's gonna really stop that offense? And then on the defensive side of the ball, you still got Chris Jones there. You still have a potent rush defense. Like it's. But Harrison Butker, I don't like him, but he still kicks the ball consistently. Like, how do you stop them? Again, I see them as being that top team in the AFC. Someone's got to show me otherwise.
The line is Chiefs by 6. I might throw this one in a teaser and take it all the way to 12. I think they could. I think they could beat the Bengals by 2 touchdowns
at home. Yeah, I can see that at home, definitely.
Yeah, man, in Cincy, I think this team beats the Bengals by 2 touchdowns.
Any given Sunday, I would say, but 2 tutties in Kansas City, I could see that being the case.
We'll circle back. Maybe I'll publish a short. I want to see if I could find. Oh, give me 3 seconds of time here.
Absolutely.
Chiefs minus 13.5. It's plus 238.
Whew. Do it.
I'll get back to you. I'll publish a short. if I take this. I'll go on a little rant.
Oh goodness. Well, next game coming up. Rematch in the preseason.
Sunday night football.
I like it.
Does this game finish?
I mean, I would expect it to.
I would also, but I also expected the Hall of Fame game to finish. So
touche. But that, to be fair, they were playing in Ohio, and Ohio isn't known for finishing things very well.
That's fair. Caleb Williams, obviously the big story here. Bears defense looked totally fine.
Looked good. Yep.
Yeah. What do you have on Caleb Williams?
He's still young. He's unpolished. He's got to make some better decisions with the ball. He's got so much star power, I think, in that receiver core. He's got to make some better decisions with the ball. That's really it. He's got to step up in the pocket in instances where he's not. He's got to stop dancing around the backfield. Preseason is obviously preseason. You don't have to do too much. You're playing against backups. You're playing against real NFL talent here. And you're going to be playing against the Texans in a game that they're coming off a win, and they're going to just keep pounding the ball at you. They're going to pound the ball at you. They got good receivers. Their receiver core got even better. CJ Stroud makes so many good decisions with the ball down the field. And then to top it off, the defense is still pretty stout. They did give up more points than I would have originally expected this past week. But I don't see them giving up that many points to the Bears offense unless Caleb Williams is dialed in. He's got to be dialed in order for that to happen. Will Anderson is going to put some pressure on that on that offensive line, so he's going to have to really make some really good plays in the backfield in order for the Bears to have a chance in this game. Personally,
I don't like Caleb Williams.
Of course you don't.
I don't think this was his fault necessarily. They need to take the training wheels off. Let this guy, he played a pro-style offense, let him throw the ball. Depth of target was like 7.5 yards.
Yeah.
13% of his throws went further than 20 yards in the air. I mean, that doesn't play to his strengths. He can chuck it. He's not super accurate. But if the alternative is 3 check down routes that don't get you a first down, let him air it out. Like worst case scenario, it's a long punt. Let him throw down the sidelines.
So you think it's the play call? You don't think that had anything to do with what he felt comfortable with?
Man, nothing in the middle of the field. A whole bunch of screens. Like the Bears aren't built for that. They need crossing routes. They need running backs on wheels. Like I think the play calling is to blame, not for his shortcomings necessarily, but absolutely for the Bears. What I will call is losing week 1. You score no points on offense. I mean,
the poor offensive performance.
No touchdowns.
Poor offensive performance. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you have this guy who's supposed to be the second coming, right? He's NFL ready. He's able to move, able to make decisions. None of the knocks against him were for his mental game. Let the guy work his way into an NFL offense. Don't give him all these check down routes and this outside stuff, because it doesn't work for the wide receivers. None of those guys are out route guys. I mean, now with Rome hurt, God only knows what happens. Probably a bunch of tight end work, which will be short into the sides, and maybe some seam stuff. Komet can run routes.
I think the seam, I thought about to say Komet's not bad up the seams, but I see what you mean. Yeah. He needs to get the ball down the field. Nothing over the middle of the field for a whole game is terrible.
Yeah, I'm curious to see more, but 29 passing attempts for 93 yards is unacceptable. And that's an organizational thing, because even if you have 29 check down routes, you should have more than 93 yards. So you're either got guys running the wrong routes or turning the wrong way, or maybe it's a read progression thing. I'm not familiar with the Bears offense on that level, but something is wrong. And I don't think it's fair to blame Caleb Williams for it.
I don't want to make it seem like I'm only blaming Caleb Williams, but as an NFL quarterback, your job is to get the ball to the players who are going to make the play. And I see a lot of those check down routes. I see a lot of the screen passes. And in my head, I'm going, if this was Peyton Manning, he's not throwing all those balls, right? If this is Tom Brady, he's not throwing all those balls. At a certain point, as an NFL quarterback, your job is to look at who's going to be the best chance of getting you the yardage that you need in that play. And I'm sorry, but if the whole first half you threw a bunch of screen passes and checkdowns, you got no drags, you got no slants, you got no nothing over the middle of the field, you got to be able to make that adjustment too. You can't just rely on your offensive coordinator because he's calling plays, but guess what? You're the one who has to execute them. You've got the ability to call options and audibles at the line of scrimmage when you see what the defense is playing. If it's the defense playing weak over the middle, was he only giving what he thought the defense was giving him? Like, what's going? Like, I need to see NFL ready quarterback start to make the decisions for himself.
Yeah,
that's what my thought process is.
The Titans are better over the middle than they are on the outsides,
but they were awful in general.
I haven't watched the all 22 yet, so I'm not exactly sure what happened over the middle of the field, but it wasn't there. I mean, at the end of the day, whoever's fault it was or whatever was there, whether it was scheme or choice, like they didn't throw the middle of the field. I don't know. You can't do that in the NFL. There's 2 quarterbacks in the league who can win a game with the scatter chart that Caleb Williams had. Caleb Williams ain't one of them.
No, sir, he is.
But 1-0, he did win, and that's what the Bears fans are leaning on. And ultimately, if you win those games that you shouldn't win, and then your quarterback develops into what you and the whole world thinks he can be, I mean, they're going to be in a good spot. I mean, imagine if they steal a game against the Texans 19-17 or some crap like that. Like, now you're 2-0 with one of your hardest games in the rearview mirror.
the defense is really going to be where they're going to be a testament to. The offensive woes, we'll see how they work out this year, this season. This game coming up, because the Texans have a better defense than a significantly better defense than Tennessee. But their defense, the Bears' defense, is really what's going to be a testament. If they can have a top 10 NFL defense, because I mean, there's been teams who have had poor offensive seasons with a top 10 NFL defense, and you go, they just need that one thing to kind of push them over the edge. My mind goes back to that Broncos season where my mind goes back to that Broncos season, that first Russ season, where they gave up like 12, 13 points a game, but then they could only score 9, and so then you can look and say, okay, what's going on with our offense? So I'm curious to see how that would work out. But this game, personally, I take the Texans at home, Sunday Night Football, coming off of a win and looking to continue to be that the best team in their division.
Can I try out a meme on you before I make my pick?
You sure can.
I'm thinking like a T-shirt, right? So in the 70s and 80s, the Bears, the monsters of the Midway, right? And then like Urlacher and those guys came in, they kind of revitalized it. Bears fans say it, and it's on billboards and shit. If the Bears are winning with their defense, I'm gonna make a shirt. It's gonna have a crying grizzly bear on it. It's gonna say "Monsters of the Mid."
Okay, I want to see the visualization of that. I want to see that. I want to see that. It'll probably look cool. Probably look dope.
All right. This is what you get. This is what you come and watch Yelling and Screaming for. Is bad T-shirt pitches. Give me the Texans -6.5 all day long.
Fair enough.
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football is going to be fun to watch, and the reason why it's going to be fun to watch is because the Falcons are going to be terrible, and the Eagles are going to look ridiculous.
It's hard to argue with dude Saquon.
He looks like a fucking monster. I know New York right now is crying. All Giants fans are crying.
You know who else should be crying? The Bears. Swift sucks. What a swap. They could have had Saquon. They want to spend the money, and Saquon took less money to go play for the Eagles.
Honestly, if I was Saquon, I would have taken less money to go play for the Eagles. Dude, he wants to win. He wants to win.
He also wants to beat the shit out of the Giants twice a year, and I think he's going to do it.
Oh, he's definitely going to do it. He's going to be the Eagles having a premier running back in an offense that already had a high-powered rushing offense. Incredible. Now, I will say that obviously the game that they played in Brazil isn't going to be indicative, especially the first quarter, isn't truly indicative of how good the team is overall. I think that was just tough playing in the environment. They made the adjustments. But after that 3 quarters of football, they played some pretty decent football. And to play it against a team that was supposed to be that was an understatement. They played some pretty decent football.
Saquon looked like Brian Westbrook.
Oh, don't give me the West. I love it. Look, the Eagles have had a history of very good running backs. Brian Westbrook, Deuce Staley, and they had some guys in their history that be very good running backs. And to have a guy like Saquon who can be he's a 3-down back, 4-down back. You don't have to take him out. He's a workhorse. He wants to work. He wants the ball in his hands, and have an offensive line that minus one of the best centers in the league retiring, to fill him in on the guy who they already in Jurgens, who they were working on getting there. And Jurgens is mobile. He actually is pretty mobile. He can pull and still be able to run behind Lane Johnson and Mailata. Like they're going to be and they've always had good blocking tight ends. Say what you will, but the Eagles tight ends have been very, very solid at block. So it's just going to be I just see their offense having a very strong season at running back, and the receiver core is ridiculous. You've got 2,000-yard receivers, and then you just added a guy who was one of the better, WR2s in the league, in Dotson. So like, this is going to be fun to watch. And the Falcons, no Rome. They should be relying on Pitts a little more than they have since last year. I saw a little bit of work out of him. I'd like to see some more. But Cousins needs to be better. He just needs to be better.
Yeah. Bijan's a beast. I really liked what I saw out of him. I'm really excited for the Bijan Saquon stuff that I am sure they're gonna do on their nonsensical Monday Night Football broadcast. I'm excited for this one. I do like Eagles -6.5, but the only bet I have in right now is Eagles team total over 33.5 at like 3-1 money. I like 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns out of the Eagles. Like let's
How
keep
many
it rolling.
offensive touchdowns?
All of them.
My question is all of them offensive? I see one defensive or special teams touchdown. I see one.
I see it.
I can see that. I can see a pick. I can definitely see a pick, especially since the Eagles, honestly, as a rotation, they get after the ball. They get after the ball on defense. They got some solid DBs in the backfield that will definitely make that be challenging you. I think they get after the ball a lot, so I can see one defensive touchdown from them.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm excited for this one. Monday Night Football doesn't always get me going, but this one,
This will be
I like this one.
And it's gonna be in Philly too, so you know it's gonna be a fucking madhouse.
Home opener.
Madhouse. That's right. After playing in Brazil, yeah, they just come back from playing in Brazil. They're like, "Cool guys, now we get to play in front of y'all." Philly's not a team. Philly's not a place to fuck around with. They love it.
Yeah, batteries and socks and shit.
Hey, they gotta grease the poles. All right. Shout out Philadelphia 215.
That's NFL Week 2. Any last thoughts you wanted to touch on?
Well, one thing I want to say is we held this to an hour, which has not been our forte. The timing on this was phenomenal. So I loved our pacing. I love some of the commentary. I like this just kind of going straight in, looking at the week and kind of analyzing the previous week, and then just kind of going straight to it and seeing what we like. We haven't even gotten a chance to really get into any segments with like uniforms or anything cool like that. But I like what we got going so far. So this looks dope.
Yeah,
it looks like it's gonna really work out well.
And we can always take more time to film shorter stuff, like
Hell
straight segments. Cut it into a bigger show if I get real crazy. I only had one last call out that Jaguars to shut out the Browns. That's paying 22-1. I might dabble there. I think the Browns are. I think the Browns are in trouble.
Okay, if you got to pick a team though to give you 33 this week for the pool, who you picking?
Ooh, 33-point pool. How many field goals is 33?
11. Steelers with 11 field goals.
Give me the Cardinals, 33 points in a win.
Cardinals 33 in a win against the Rams. I'm going to go Niners 33 against the Vikings.
I like that one too. That's good stuff. Why? It will be the Steelers with 11 field goals.
I think that's definitely an NFL record. Easily.
It has to be, right? Probably breaks the record held by the Steelers. Especially
in 2 games. The record held by the Steelers since 1974. Where they didn't even have touchdown.
Kicker on a day that ends in a T.
Left-footed one-shoot kicker on a day that ends in a T on a field that was all clay.
Well, no, they closed Heinz, right?
Oh my god! Oh goodness!
All right, man, that's yelling and screaming. NFL Week 2.
Week 2, y'all, it's upon us. It's ready to get it.
Thanks for joining us. Get those bets in.
This is KS Flash, Sean,
King of Lakemore. I'm Rick. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.